Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome into the Farzy Show here at the Steven Singer Studios. Marc Farzetta with you. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. For those that celebrated Easter, hope you had a wonderful Easter. I, myself, had a fantastic Easter with the family. The Phillies are amazing at baseball. Carter Hart looked a hell of a lot better in his last start, so that was nice. Joel Embiid came back, albeit for one game. And then the next game last night, the Sixers didn't look so good. Rich Hoffman from The Athletic will be joining us coming up as today's guest to talk some 10, 9, 8, 76ers. He's a beat reporter, of course, for The Athletic. So we'll break it all down with Rich Hoffman, as especially what to expect going forward on this other road trip that the Sixers now have to go on, what to get out of Ben Simmons, what to make out of Ben Simmons after what we have seen really since the All-Star break. And Joel Embiid. Is Joel Embiid... This is a question I ask him. Is Joel Embiid 100% healthy and they're just being cautious? Or is it still something that they have to work him back from? Because I'll take a guy that has to work himself back into shape after missing about 3 weeks of basketball. I'll take a guy trying to work his way back from that. I won't take a guy that's trying to still work his way through the actual injury. Now, I don't think the Sixers would be playing him if he was still hurt. I think they would be using every ounce of caution that they could possibly use in order to get him back into the lineup. But after watching last night's performance from this basketball team, I know they're exhausted. I know Doc Rivers was trying to change the schedule when it came out because they play so many games in such a short amount of time, and they come back from one road trip on the West Coast to go to right on another road trip. So I don't blame him for trying to change the schedule. But if these people are going to be tired, if these athletes are going to be tired, I want to at least know that Joel Embiid is going to be there to try to help them along the way after their long road trip and now another road trip they have on the precipice of happening. So we'll talk about all that and more with Rich Hoffman. I'll give you my take on it coming up in a second, but I'd really love to start by jumping into something that just makes me feel good. It's one series, but it's the opening series. I don't feel like anyone's going crazy. We're just embracing it for what it is. And what it is a season opening sweep of the Atlanta Braves. Just bask in that for a second. And what makes me enjoy it, two things make me enjoy it so much more than just the average, hey, the Phillies open up the season with a sweep of the Braves. Here's what makes me enjoy it more. Fans being back at Citizens Bank Park. Archie Bradley, brand new to the Phillies, posted this over the weekend, just saying how great it is to have fans back at the stadium. Had another tweet earlier. We'll get into that. But right now, words can't describe exactly how much it fires me up to play in front of fans again. We love the game, our teammates, coaches, but fans, such a huge role. Thank you to every single person who came out this weekend to support. And it was marvelous. We talked on Friday about how it was just great to hear people booing the umpire again. It was great to hear people in the stands again, live people in the stands. And then the Phillies go out there and in 3 games, honor your presence with a phenomenal performance. And the thing that makes it better also, other than the fans, thing number 2, the fact that the bullpen came out and dominated. And the bullpen could have ruined all of opening week. All of opening weekend. It could have absolutely destroyed all the good vibes that actually happened here because the bullpen had an opportunity in every single game, with every single game being a close game, to blow it. And they didn't do it. In fact, they came out and they shut the Braves down. I absolutely loved everything I saw from the Phillies bullpen. I love what I saw from the Phillies arms in general, including the rotation. Zach Wheeler, I knew I was going to do it once. Zach Wheeler stepping to the plate, getting you a couple of base knocks as well. What more could you ask for? I know it'd be great to talk about these blowouts, and we talked about it on Friday. Oh, hey, you know what? What if it wasn't just a one-run game that you had to eke out, something like that? No, I like the fact that they're keeping it close, that they're keeping it interesting. We'll get the bats going a little bit later in the season, I guess. Hopefully in this series coming up against the New York Mets. But right now, I don't mind it being close. I love seeing the bullpen get the work that they're getting right now and coming up big. They get 2 wins in the first 3 games of the series. They get a save from Hector Neris. Great to see that from Hector Neris. And you see guys that you saw added to this line or added to this bullpen like Archie Bradley and Alvarado come out there and just absolutely dominate when they're in the game. They might pitch themselves into some trouble. Hector Neris made me feel a little nervous yesterday. And yeah, he might have gotten some help on a low strike call on Albies, was it? And he got the strikeout still. I'll take it. It was a ball. But hey, you win some, you lose some. I could not be more excited right now, 3 games into a season, than I am about the Phillies. And it's all because our worst nightmare looked great. And I know this isn't going to be some great prophecy for the rest of the season. I know there's still a bullpen. They're going to have their ups and downs. But here's what I'm celebrating. They're not the worst anymore. And I had a good feeling going into the season. I told you I thought this Phillies bullpen was going to be so much better. I felt like they really addressed the issues. So credit to the new Phillies front office members for actually addressing it, and not just addressing it, but addressing it well to the point where you feel like you can have some confidence in this team. And if they're going to start out well, then you can just build on this confidence, build on this momentum, and enjoy it. Now, the other side. I love Alec Boehm. Love Bryce Harper. Love Rhys Hoskins. Love all these guys. JT Realmuto, he had the day off yesterday, but he still got some at-bats at the end of the game because he came as a pinch hitter, stayed in to catch. I love all these guys. I don't want to see anything change with these guys, but I would like to see them rake a little bit. And when you start out a season, I don't mind if it's going to take a couple of games to get their swings down, and you saw that with the Braves as well. And the Braves have a really good lineup. Braves were basically just their offense was taken out of contention thanks to how great the pitching was for the Phillies through the first 3 games of the season. But the bats will come. Now, you look at it with the Braves, those guys will certainly hit. Look at the Phillies lineup. They're built to score some runs. So all that, I believe, will come in due time. Hopefully it starts up as you start to get to those 4th and 5th men in the rotation, and that's where they'll start attacking. Now, your guy yesterday, excuse me, Zach Eflin, he went out there, and he had a lot riding on him. Because before he put in the 7-inning performance yesterday, and 8 strikeouts? Before he put in that performance, you had to remember what went into that performance. And that was Dave Dombrowski. That was Joe Girardi. That was a number of guys from the Phillies talking about Zach Eflin and how special they feel he is. And although you really didn't see him much in spring training, this was a guy that your front office guys and your manager came out and said, man, nobody's talking about him. You know he's our number 3 starter, right? Like, it's his job. Like, we look at it as Nola, Wheeler, Eflin. And then after that, we'll see what we get. But this was a guy in Zach Eflin that they thought really was special and that everybody throughout Major League Baseball had overlooked. Once you're looking at Nola, who would finish in the Cy Young voting, 3rd 2 years ago? And then you look at Zach Wheeler and what he brings to the table as a starting pitcher. And if he was able to bring what he had done throughout most of his career in the second half of his season, move that up to the front of the season, the beginning of the season a little bit, and then complete it, you're talking about a hell of a pitcher. And then you're also talking about Zach Eflin. What has Zach Eflin ever done? Well, last year, the year before, he was one of your more consistent pitchers, other than Aaron Nola, obviously. Not last year, but the year before. And watching him really develop and listening to a guy like Dave Dombrowski talk about how good a pitcher he could be, it was nothing but comforting. And then to see him go out there, well, first off, comforting may not be the word for it initially. When you're just listening to the offseason stuff, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know he's had some good starts, but you seem to be really high on him as your 3rd starter. And yesterday, he at least went out and proved that for that game. I look forward to a lot more of that from Zach Eflin as the season goes on. But how great is it to look back on the opening series of the season, have it be against the Atlanta Braves, and have the pitching dominate in the way that it did? Absolutely unreal. I will bask in it until it's gone. But right now, I'm just going to bask in it because it's wonderful. So congrats to the Phillies. Congrats to the Phillies fans who got to indulge in such a great first 3 games of the season. Let's go. Let's keep that going. Some of the other stories that we're going to talk about today, like I said, Rich Hoffman from The Athletic is going to join us in just a little bit to talk about Joel Embiid's return. This was wild. This, to me, was the soundbite of the weekend. As great as it was to hear Joe Girardi after the game and Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler and all these guys talk after the game about how great it was to have fans back in the stadium and how great it was just to start out 3-0 and to take a series from the Braves also. Over all this, I know we're in April, but this makes me think about September because it's never bad to sweep the Braves, and the Phillies did that right out of the gate. But after all, that's great stuff. Joel Embiid, I feel like, stole the show from most of the weekend because we've been waiting with great anticipation to see him back in the lineup. Definitely had sea legs. Definitely had sea legs throughout the game against Minnesota on Saturday, but worked it out. And I think we all knew going into it he wasn't going to play both games in the back-to-back. They were going to rest him and then bring him back for the road. So I think that really didn't take anybody by surprise. So he sits out the second game. But the first game, you could tell in the first quarter, first half really, was working his way through playing for the first time in 3 weeks. And then you saw him start to get more and more stable as the game went on. But the soundbite of the weekend was after the game. And Joel Embiid was asked about the injury and coming back from it. And here's what JoJo told us about coming back, about suffering, and then coming back from the knee injury.
Honestly, I thought I was done. I thought my season was done. The pain, how bad it was hurting. I just knew that, it was something worse than we saw after. I was just, crying and, asking myself, why me? Like, why does it always happen to me? When everything seems to be going well, with the team and myself, something always has to happen. And, I'm glad there wasn't anything bad. And I'm able to, get back on the court and, help the team go on this championship run.
And we can't wait to have you help lead this team on a championship run. So some bold words there from JoJo as far as the championship run goes. But, yeah, we're all on board for that. The other is crying and thinking your season is over. And you saw him on the court, how emotional he was. To hear him talk about that. See, I'm still not in the school. I know a lot of people are still in this school of thinking. Whenever he hits the ground, people panic. Oh, my God, is he done? I don't think like that with Joel Embiid. But if I see him hit the ground and cover his face and really start, rolling around in pain and agony, then I'll start thinking it. I'm not the worrywart that jumps to the conclusion, oh, my God, something happened to JoJo. And when I saw it, something just didn't. I know a lot of people, it looked bad, hyperextension, whatever. And sure, it could have been all those things, and it ended up being the bone bruise. But I didn't jump to the conclusion of season was done. Joel Embiid, I think he very much thinks of himself in that regard, in terms of every time he goes down, is this it for me? Is this going to be the end of my season? Is this another season thrown out the window? Is this another wasted year type of thing? I think Joel Embiid thinks a lot like you Sixers fans. Well, it's the Sixers fans that think every time he hits the ground, he's going to be done for the season. I think that mindset is not just a paranoid Sixer fan. I think that mindset is also belonging to that of Joel Embiid himself. And to hear him talk about it, to hear how crushing it was, to hear how devastated he was, and then relieved that it wasn't going to mean his season is great. Now, when we do talk to Rich Hoffman, and we talked to him after the game last night, one of the things he highlights is Joel Embiid's mental state and how he's got to do what a lot of athletes have to do when they come back from any type of injury. And that's trust the injury. Again, that's trust his knee. We know all about trusting the process. Now it's all about trusting the knee and whether or not the knee is going to be strong enough to push off of, to try to make moves on, to come down on. And that messes with a player's psyche, and unfortunately, it messes with a player's confidence. And that, in turn, it messes with the most important thing, the talent level and the impact he can have on a game. So if Joel Embiid, who came off the bench, came off the injury and got to, 24 points, then, yeah, okay. I think you're okay. I think you'll be fine. And that's just your first game back. So if you're going to come back from this injury and you're going to trust it, I think it was a pretty good game to start things off on, to trust it going forward. So we hear all the time from Joel Embiid, you got to trust the process. Then you know what? Then trust your knee. Just trust your knee, and let's just see you run with it from this point on. And hopefully this will be put in the rearview mirror further and further in that rearview mirror as he continues to play and come back from this injury and gain confidence that his knee will be fine as the season continues. And it's a classic case of can you make it any worse? No, good. Get out there and just keep on grinding. I would be remiss if I didn't get back into the Flyers a little bit here. And I loved what I saw for the most part from Carter Hart. in his return. The Flyers lost in a shootout, 3-2, unfortunately, the New York Islanders. Claude Giroux had both Flyer goals, so he was your offense against the Islanders. But Carter Hart looked like a different goaltender. The first goal he allowed, power play goal. Second goal he allowed. What was Joel Farabee doing on that goal? Where he knocked the puck down from being cleared out of his own zone, ends up going right to, I forget who it was on the Islanders, and then they buried in the back of the net behind Carter Hart. I don't know what the hell that was, but it happened. But throughout the game, Carter Hart, I thought, looked great. I thought he looked exactly as you wanted him to look coming back from the injury. They go into the shootout, and he's stellar in the shootout. He allows the one goal, the only goal there was in the fourth round of the shootout, so it went an extra round. But all in all, you talk about confidence. He looked like a guy that just came back from a much-needed vacation and was ready to work. Now, we had talked a lot about how Alain Vigneault said that he wasn't giving Carter Hart days off. He just wasn't playing him. So he was getting work in those games. He was getting make him, and then he got back to a game and actually was able to apply it. So let's hope both for Joel Embiid and both for Carter Hart. Carter Hart coming back from something more mentally than anything, and you have Joel Embiid coming back from something more physical, and now hopefully we'll get over the mental hurdle as well. Those are two guys that you want to see get back to the status that they were at, well, for one, last year in Carter Hart, and for the other, 3 weeks ago before the injury in Joel Embiid. But Carter Hart, I thought, looked great in net. And that's a performance I think he can certainly build off of, and the Flyers will definitely need it as the season goes on. Good to see him get a point, at least against the Islanders in their most recent game, and then again, just hopefully build on that. And let's hope that Flyers offense comes around a little bit more than just getting 2 goals from Claude Giroux. Not against it. Let's just see if they can build on that just a little bit. Just a wild weekend. NCAA tournament was obviously crazy. The championship game, the national final is set. Baylor taking on Gonzaga, and Gonzaga just fought tooth and nail with UCLA. I told you how much I loved UCLA, how I loved the almost an NBA style of play that they have. That end of the game was just nothing but bonkers. And watching it go into overtime, watching these teams just battle throughout, it makes you upset that one's got to go home, but that's the whole beauty of the tournament and all that. But watching Gonzaga pull that out, I thought they would win. I thought UCLA would certainly cover. It was UCLA plus 14 going into that game. At least that's what it was on DraftKings. And that was just an unbelievable finish, as we know. And I was blown away from start to finish trying to follow that game and everything that was going on with it. It was just absolutely insane. Coming up, we are going to get to our morning rush. We are going to get to our what else we got? We got our social media check-in, of course, that we're going to get you. And like I said, Rich Hoffman will be joining the show coming up in just a second. But I do want to tell you about my good friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Steven's brand new rose is here. Rose? Not Valentine's Day. Yeah, you're right. Mother's Day, just around the corner, of course. And Steven's got your back. His famous real roses, dipped and trimmed, 24 karat gold. Excuse me. Little sip of coffee here. Thank you so much. His famous real roses, dipped in 24 karat gold, now coming Sunshine Yellow. So check that out. Sunshine Yellow at IHateStevenSinger.com. New Rose is a brilliant shade of yellow that dazzles with sparkles as well. Steven has always been in love with the love business. You hear us say it all the time. In this past year, we've seen just how important love is. In addition to brightening your loved one's day, Steven wants to make sure that little sunshine is in everyone's days these days. So he's continuing to use a portion of each rose sold to support local restaurants by catering meals for all the incredible nurses, doctors, first responders, and hospital heroes. How great is this? He helps the restaurants, and he uses the restaurants to thank those healthcare workers. How great is that from Steven Singer? Go now to IHateStevenSinger.com and send a Sunshine Gold Dip Rose this Mother's Day. It's a win-win-win-win. If you think about it, you'll give sunshine that lasts a lifetime to a loved one. You'll be supporting local restaurants by thanking our essential workers as well, and you'll feel good about doing it. Win-win-win. You can't go wrong. All this coming with a lifetime guarantee, free personalized gift message as well with every rose, fast and free shipping as well. Simply say I love you and honor your mom on Mother's Day. Just go to IHateStevenSinger.com. How great is that from Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, and IHateStevenSinger.com. Without further ado, after last night's loss, we were able to speak with Rich Hoffman from The Athletic. We break it down when it comes to Ben Simmons' performance over the last couple of games, really since the All-Star break. And we also break it down when it comes to Joel Embiid's injury and what we can expect from him going forward. Joining us on the Zatos Investments guest line last night after the game, our friend Rich Hoffman from The Athletic. Right now from theathletic.com on the Zatos Investments guest line, Rich Hoffman joins the show to talk some 76ers. Rich, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. It was a pretty bad game tonight, but I'm
terrible.
Good.
It was so bad. I'm so glad that Doc Rivers, though, reminded us after the game that the Sixers are only human, which is nice. That really invokes the compassion in me as a Philadelphia sports fan and someone that's obviously trying to follow this just as you are. Okay, let's start off with Ben Simmons, because I'm not going to totally lose my mind or freak out. However, if Ben Simmons is getting numbers similar to what he got tonight with Joel Embiid in the game, now that the game with Joel Embiid, he got 14 points, so at least double digits. If he's getting numbers like that with Joel Embiid, I'm like, okay, well, Joe's there to score. But Joe's not there, and they need another scorer. So at what point do we start worrying a little bit about Ben Simmons and his offensive output?
I'm fairly worried about this now. I would say the stretch he has had since the All-Star game, it's one of the worst of his career. And it's funny that they're still winning these games without Embiid. It's been like pretty impressive what Doc and just the general team has done. And Ben is a part of that. Like their defense has been fantastic. And obviously like he's still playing very good defense on the perimeter. But his offense since the All-Star break has been horrendous. He's shooting like, under 50%, and it's funny. It hasn't just been in the losses. It's been like he's been bad in games that they've won. They blew out Cleveland the other night. He was like 2 for 10 from the field. And it's been it's funny. In past years, when Embiid sat, usually the way for the Sixers to be competitive was for Ben to be really good. And I would say like probably that stretch in 2020, right before the pandemic happened, like, he had a big game against the Lakers, I remember, when Embiid was out, and he was kind of carrying them. He was keeping them afloat. And I don't know if he's hurt. Like Doc has said he isn't hurt. I don't know what is going on, but it's the second concerning stretch of this year. Like he started off really poorly. Then the Harden trade happens. Okay, he's staying here. Right before the All-Star break, I thought he was great. Like, he had 42 points in Utah. He was attacking the rim like a madman. To go with the good defense, and he's regressed in a major way. And like his performance tonight, it's just not good enough. 7 points, 4 assists in 26 minutes. That's brutal without Embiid.
Yeah, I agree. When you hear Doc Rivers after the game say that he's not at all worried about Ben Simmons, that we're all making too big a deal out of the points that he scores in a game, how much of that is true? Like, how much of that do you buy from Doc Rivers, and how much of that is no? I'm not hitting the panic button yet on my my 3-time All-Star point guard.
Yeah, and this is somebody who's coached star players before, and I don't think he's going to completely reveal what he thinks about a Ben, because, I mean, that answer is it's not great. Like I get it. We want to say that Simmons affects the game in different ways, and it's true. Like his perimeter defense is unbelievable. He's one of the best. He should be a first-team All-NBA defender this year if he keeps going throughout the season. But he's getting paid a max contract. Like he needs to, whether it's facilitating or scoring, like he needs to grab the reins of the offense and be better when Embiid is out. And he's had a lot of help, I would say, this year. Tobias Harris has taken a massive step forward and it's been frankly awesome in recent weeks. And he hasn't been good. And Ben, unfortunately, we're in the era of Zoom where we get who the Sixers give us after the night. We did get him earlier this week where he was just pretty blunt. Like he was like, I got to get better. I think he used a little more colorful language than that.
Yeah.
But he's right. And since he's talked, he has not done that. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but the Sixers have this weird thing where, they get Embiid back. They were able to weather the storm without him, very well overall. But now they have Ben Simmons back playing to the concerning level. And, will he bounce back? He did earlier in the season. So, I don't know. But yeah, he's been bad for like 3 weeks now.
I love your answer. I was fully expecting no, Mark, relax. Everything's fine. Again, they're only human. So I'm glad to know. I'm just happy to know that I'm not. Well, I know I'm crazy, but at least not as crazy as I thought I might be. I do want to move on to Joel Embiid because obviously he does play the game. He then sits out against the Timberwolves, and he'll be back, obviously, sooner rather than later, we hope. Against the Grizzlies, sits out. And then is this going to be something that we just have to monitor? Is he going to be sitting for even more time? Like, what are we to expect in Joel Embiid's return from this bone bruise?
Yeah, I think you're going to see some occasional nights off in here, but we saw that earlier in the season anyway, when he was healthy, or maybe he was dealing with the back soreness. Like, I thought that was the right move tonight. Get him 28 minutes in that game. To play him on a back-to-back, it seems like that might have been pushing it a little bit. It's tough though, because it's the most condensed schedule an NBA season has ever been. Like, the NBA schedule in normal years is ridiculous. There's way too many games in a short period of time. This is ridiculous trying to fit this in. I think they have 22 more games in like 43 days, 42 days, something like that. I mean, it's just, you're going to have to pick your battles. And the good news for the Sixers is, like, they actually can, they don't have to worry about hosting a first-round playoff series. Now, it would be really nice for them to host all of their playoff series, and they do have a chance to do that. They are neck and neck with Brooklyn right now, and getting that 1 seed would be a big deal, in my opinion. But, yeah, I think you're going to see him, it's going to be fairly cautious bringing him back.
I would assume that would be the case as well. So when it comes to this team, then, if you're going to be tired, and now you get another 4-game road trip coming in here after a back-to-back, what's the answer here? If you're going to be resting Joel Embiid a little bit, and Ben Simmons is going to be struggling, are you going to have to count on 30 points a night from Tobias Harris, and then your other double figures in scoring come from, who was it? It was Shake Milton and Paul Reed, making sure that they got you some numbers tonight.
Yeah. You're just going to need everybody else to play better. And, they have shown, even though they've struggled a little bit this week with two pretty bad performances, like the bench is a very hit or miss thing. There was a game in Cleveland the other night. I get it. Cleveland's a bad team. They look dominant. There are going to be nights when Matisse Thybulle's wing defense is just a complete game changer. And there's going to be nights where it's not as much, and his offense is going to hurt you. But yeah, I think the main answer is you're going to need Ben to step up. You're going to need Tobias to give you the 25 to 30 points. He was not like his elite self tonight, but hard to do that on a back-to-back. And you're just going to need, them to play better defense. Like the game tonight, they gave up 45 points in the third quarter. I will say, in fairness to them, their defense without Embiid in that 10-game stretch, they were the best defense in the league. And if you would have told me that when they started, I would have thought you were crazy. Like, that's just not how this has worked over the past few years. So, I am willing to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but don't two bad performances in the last week. But I think they have shown that they are capable of better than that.
George Hill, what's the latest there in terms of getting some help in that second unit?
It seems like he's going to take a little longer than we think. Like, he'll be back before the end of the season, but there were reports out of Oklahoma City when he was traded that he was healthy and he was ready to go, and they were holding him out just because they were going to trade him and they didn't want to get him hurt and whatever. And they were having him, he had a thumb injury, so they were having him run and get his cardio up. It sounds like, Doc said, we're looking to get at least 10 games by the end of the season. So, I don't know if that means like he's going to play the last 10 games. I don't think he's that far away, but certainly seems like, it's not going to be next game that he's back. It might be, another week here or so. And then you have a sprint to get him, onto the team. I guess the good news is that, he has a lot of history with a lot of these coaches. He is a veteran player, smart guy, but yeah, he's not going to have a lot of time for this onboarding process for sure.
So what do the Sixers need from this point on? Because I think the answer is more offense from Ben Simmons in terms of scoring. So as much as I want the jump shot to be there, I'm not expecting that to happen this year now. But we did see him shoot 70% from the free throw line in February. March took a big dip back under 60%. Seems to be struggling like that again, only the first couple of games in April we're talking about here. Can I at least get a Ben Simmons that's a scorer by getting those free throws back, or am I just going to have to continue to rely on Joel Embiid being healthy, first and foremost, and then second, Tobias Harris scoring points?
Yeah, and that's the question, because I thought, there were some games in the middle of the season where Ben was, he was consistently attacking the rim. And Mark, I'm not even as worried about the free throw percentage. I know it's frustrating when he misses, two in a row, like, which happens a lot. To me, the key stat for him is free throw attempts. Are you actually getting there? Because I think he will get better when he does that. But I think his percentage will get better the more and more he shoots. And he's shown that he was up around 70%. He's pretty good. But to me, that's the sign of, are you playing with the aggression you need? And yeah, I think it's fair to say, like, the jump shot, push that aside, like, for this year. But you might have to push it aside for the rest of his career. Like, that is a very tricky issue. But he showed in the middle of the season that he could be close to the best version of the guy that, okay, he doesn't have a jump shot, but he's attacking the rim like a madman. He's dunking on Rudy Gobert. He's just providing a consistent level of force driving the basketball against some of these teams. And the Sixers need that guy. Like, they, as much as their bench and Tobias and Danny Green, Seth Curry, some of these guys have helped, like, in the playoffs, like, they're going to need Ben Simmons to be close to that level that we saw in the middle of the season. And he's very far from that right now. But hey, maybe he turns it around twice in one season. I'm not ruling that out either. He is a tough one to figure out. It's fair to say.
Rich Hoffman joining us here from The Athletic, talking 76ers basketball. So, Rich, let's look at it like this. Just want to clarify, go back to Joel Embiid's injury for a second here. Do you believe that he is 100% healthy right now, and we're just in the stage of being cautious with him?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Because I didn't think he looked 100% last night, but to be fair, that's your first game in 3 weeks. He said he'd only been up and down the court on Friday, the day before. He certainly, and Tobias made a comment during the game or after the game. He's like, that Joel told him that I don't want to dunk. And I wonder, I didn't think he looked that explosive in that game, but there might be a confidence issue, right? Like, he talked about after the game how, like, he basically was crying when he thought, when he went down. He was like, I think I'm done for the season. And I do wonder if there's going to be, like, a little bit of a confidence issue with it. Am I able to jump off this knee and land and do all the things that I need to do to be, the elite basketball player that I was? So yeah, I'm not sure he's going to be 100% for now. Like, it was funny. I thought in a lot of ways he was super rusty. He talked about he's dealing with the brace on his left knee. He's turning the ball over. He wasn't, not all of his jump shots were going in, to the point where, like, early in the season, those mid-rangers were just cash and he wasn't making them. But you looked at the stat sheet at the end of the game, he was a game high plus 20. So, like, he could still be pretty rough. He could still be pretty sloppy for him. And you look at the end of the game, it's like, man, this guy just helps you win basketball games in a way that not many people do. So I guess that's the good news. But yeah, I think that is certainly a question. Like, is he 100%? Is he able to deal with, the pounding that he's going to have to deal with in the playoffs? And to me, like, they said that there's no structural damage with the bone bruise. So, I think the hope is that, like, hey, it's going to be a couple weeks. It's going to be a little bit of a feeling out process for him to get back. But if there's none of that long-term damage, like, he should be able to get back to that level.
So we're going to have to use our world-class Philadelphia patience when it comes to Joel Embiid. And that's fine. I think most people are going to be in the state of willing to wait if they know they're going to get that Joel Embiid back before the playoffs. Now, speaking of that, the playoffs, the Nets are obviously playing some pretty good basketball. The Bucks are doing the same thing. When you look at it, do you see this Eastern Conference as really coming down, assuming you do eventually get Joel Embiid back healthy for, let's just say, at the very least, the last month of the season? Do you pretty much see this Eastern Conference being a two-horse race between the Sixers and the Nets?
I think the Bucks, I would throw them in there
Okay.
too. I think, they've tried something different with Drew Holiday, who they just extended today, and they have some different ways to beat you. But I would say it's probably those three teams. Now, it was funny. I was talking with Derek Bodner, my colleague, last week. Can you imagine if the Sixers played the Celtics in the first round of the playoffs? I think, and it's possible with how the East is so jumbled, and Boston, like all the rest of these teams, they, as bad as the Sixers were tonight, the rest of these teams can't get out of their way. This has been 3 week things. And the Sixers have the occasional stinker, but I think other teams would kill for that problem.
Celtics are what, 500 right now?
Yeah, they're right around it, and that's what
they're talking about firing Brad Stevens.
Yeah, and that's what the whole conference is. Where if you lose 2 games, you go from 4th to like 10th, just like that. So, could the Sixers play the Celtics in the first round, or maybe the Heat in the second round, or something like that? Would that be a little bit of a scary series, A, for them? And I imagine just like fan psyche, like I would understand why that would be a little bit scary.
I already know people that are terrified of the Celtics right now. Me, no, not at all. Sixers, Nets, maybe the Bucks, and I don't even like the Bucks that much, but Sixers, Celtics, not worried. Crush the stigma as far as that's concerned, and then move on and get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
So, yeah, and I mean, so while I can't predict with certainty that they would smoke the Celtics, like they have been a better team than them this year. At some point, you have to trust what you have seen this season. They've been better when they played against them. They're playing against them in a couple nights, so I guess we'll see that again. But they've just been flat out better than the rest of these teams. You look at point differential, you look at just how they look on the court against the good teams, how they've handled adversity with COVID and injuries and stuff like that. They've been better. So yeah, I think it would come down to those 3 teams. I think, but to me, Brooklyn that's the real scary one, because
no, I would wholeheartedly agree with that. Last thing for you there, Rich Hoffman of The Athletic. Shake Milton off the bench, legitimate scorer. We're going to see more of these points from him. Will go away when George Hill eventually joins the team. What do you expect from Shake Milton from this point on for the rest of the season?
I think George Hill's going to help him. And, I think the other hope would be that, in the playoffs, like you're going to stagger Embiid and Simmons, assuming that Simmons gets out of this rut and is the guy that we have seen, or at least near that guy that we've seen out at its best. Shake Milton to me is not a point guard. He's not. I always make the lazy joke that the thing that he doesn't have is the shake to be a point guard. Like he can't get by people quite as quickly. Like he's a very good, fundamentally sound basketball player. And for somebody who is now like the 7th or 8th man at this point, I think he's good enough to be that guy for a good team. Like I think pretty highly of him. His shot has been a little more inconsistent than maybe I thought this year, but that to me will get better. But to add George Hill, to add a Ben Simmons, like to add a little bit more playmaking, sometimes you see with the second unit, you have guys like Thibault and Korkmaz. They just throw the ball to Shake and say, "Hey, man, we're sinking or swimming with you," and that's tough for him because it's just I don't think he's quite the natural shot creator the other guys are. But yeah, I think George Hill is going to help him. And he's going to be a big part of their playoff rotation because some of the other guys on their bench unit, I'm not sure, when Doc whittles down the rotation, when it becomes like the serious games, maybe against the Nets, he is a guy who I think is going to be in the rotation. So, yeah, we'll see.
Rich Hoffman from The Athletic. I appreciate it very much. The first time guest here on the Farzy Show. Appreciate you coming on with us, man. Great stuff, especially on Ben Simmons. And hopefully this outlook is looking okay for the rest of the season. Rich, thanks so much, man.
See you, man.
Rich Hoffman from The Athletic joining us here on the Zatos Investments guest line. My thanks once again to Rich Hoffman for joining the show from The Athletic. Before we even get to our sponsors, just want to recap this with Ben Simmons real quick. Because I feel like anytime you talk about Ben Simmons' offensive game, there's another side of the fan base who's like, shut up, he's a great defender. Like, because he's great at one thing, and I think a great facilitator as well, doesn't mean that you can't highlight things that you'd like him to improve upon. Still file me in the school of Ben Simmons, very much worthy of 3 All-Star appearances because he's that good a player where that's warranted. I'm done arguing over that one. But you could still say that you love Ben Simmons. You could still say you love Ben Simmons' game and still look at things that you want him to improve upon or add to his arsenal. A jump shot is one of them. That's a pipe dream. It's never going to happen in the middle of a season. But where's the guy that will attack the rim? Where's the guy, especially without Joel Embiid, will be aggressive? Where's the guy we saw in February that shot, 78% from the free throw line and is now shooting around 55% from the free throw line over the last month? We talked about how great February was. March, not so much. So you can criticize Ben Simmons to the point of saying, without Joel Embiid, you really didn't see his offensive game step up. You didn't see his scoring step up. And I know after the game, Doc Rivers, and I highlighted it there with Rich, Doc Rivers came out and said, you guys are a lot more worried about Ben Simmons scoring than I am. Just know that. Okay, fine. Like, if you're telling me these numbers are the numbers he's going to get without Joel Embiid, then I'm going to be concerned. Because I would expect him, like everybody else, to raise his game up. If you're Ben Simmons, you can't attempt to be the same facilitator when you don't have the same people to facilitate to. So if Joel Embiid's not in the lineup, who are you passing the ball to? You got to take control. You got to drive the lane. You got to get fouled. You got to go to the line. And when you get there, it better be better than what happened last night, which was 3 for 6 from the charity stripe? I'd like to see a little bit better of an offensive output from Ben Simmons in himself. Because without Joel Embiid, and Tobias Harris playing well for all that, fine. But you can't have a game without Joel Embiid where Ben Simmons is a guy looking up at Shake Milton, looking up at Dwight Howard, looking up as much as he is at Tobias Harris. You got to be in on that. You got to be in the mix. Oh, I'm sorry, I left out another name. Paul Reed. And I'm all for the G League and the MVP of the G League and B-Ball Paul and, yeah, great. But Ben Simmons can't be looking at Paul Reed going, well, that guy could score. Like, what about you? You can score. Let me see you attack the rim. We've seen 40-point games from you. Hey, 40-point game from you. Let's see a little more of that. And you could do that without ever thinking for a second jump shot. Because for me, it's not about a jump shot anymore. I'd love to see that happen in the offseason. It's never, again, something that's going to happen in the middle of the year, not happening. But what we know can happen is Ben Simmons can attack the rim. Ben Simmons can be aggressive. And with Joel Embiid not in the lineup, especially like he wasn't in the lineup last night against the Grizzlies, where is that aggression? Where is that aggression from Ben Simmons? And I think Rich hit the nail on the head there. The fact is, he's got to at least have the confidence that he can attack the rim, go to the line, and make his free throws. Because that's what we saw from Ben Simmons in February, which was, I thought, the most all-around we've ever seen Ben Simmons play. That entire month of February, the most all-around game we've seen from Ben Simmons, where he was attacking the rim. He was making his foul shots. He was being aggressive to score, looking to score. I'll take that from Ben if it means I'm not going to get a jump shot. That is something I still think needs to be added to his game. Any player in the NBA who doesn't have one, I strongly suggest getting one. It is important. But that doesn't mean that Ben Simmons is some scrub or that he's not worthy of all-star appearances and all that stuff because he doesn't have it. No, what's most frustrating is that we see Ben Simmons choose when to be aggressive. And in a game where you don't have Joel Embiid, to not flip it into that high gear, that aggressive gear, is beyond frustrating to me. And that's what was so frustrating with watching Ben Simmons last night. And hopefully he'll choose to flip that switch, even with Joel Embiid back in the lineup. Hell, his best game was with Joel Embiid back. 14 points for you, at least scoring-wise. So that was great. But I think we need to see a lot more of that because we know it's there with Ben. And in games without Joel Embiid, you want to see him go, all right, well, somebody else has got to score, and it's got to be me. Max contract player has to max out when one of your other max contract guys isn't there. So that's what I want to see from Ben. Still love Ben. No hate for Ben Simmons. Just want to see him flip that switch because over the last couple of weeks, you haven't really seen it from Ben Simmons. I do want to thank DraftKings, by the way. If you haven't gotten in on all the action, DraftKings is the way to get in on that action. Everyone's favorite tournament of the year. The golfers are in Augusta, Georgia to compete for the coveted jacket, of course. And DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting you in the center of the action by giving you a shot to land in the green. This week, DraftKings is giving you 100-1 odds on the golfer of your choosing to finish in the top 10. If you haven't tried DraftKings, this is the time. Turning $1 into $100. Simple, easy, quick, and fun. Any golfer from this weekend's tournament just to finish in the top 10. Pick a top 10 guy. You can cash out at $100. 100-1 odds on the action right there. That's the action. And you could choose your golfer from this tournament when they tee off Thursday morning, a tradition unlike any other. America's top-rated sportsbook app now has great action for you on all sorts of stuff. Plus, DraftKings is safe, secure, reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 if the golfer of your choosing at Augusta finishes in the top 10 in this weekend's tournament. That's promo code Farzy to turn $1 into $100 for limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And how about our friends at Zatos Investments? Folks, check it out. Go to email them at info@zatosinvestments.com or go to zatosinvestments.com and look at all the properties, all the things they're doing in the Philadelphia real estate game right now. Up and coming luxury real estate and development company and investment company as well in the Philadelphia area. They design and develop top-of-the-line custom homes all around the city, ranging from small single-family rehabs to ground-up new construction townhomes and condo buildings. Zatos also works closely with their private investor base to provide them with substantial returns on their investment, ranging from 20 to 40%. Like I said, these guys are crushing into the Philadelphia real estate game. So go ahead and shoot them an email right now to learn how you could invest and also see their properties. Info@zatosinvestments.com or simply visit zatosinvestments.com. How about FanUp? Philadelphia fans, you want to get involved? You want to have some fun with some friends? Well, the days of playing fantasy sports alone are over. Go to the App Store. Download the FanUp app. Use promo code FanUp. Get 2,000 bonus points right out of the gate. You can win brand prizes. You can win memorabilia, Louis Vuitton bag. You can lose all sorts of great stuff. A pair of Jordans they gave away a couple of weeks ago. You can get involved with FanUp. Right now, enter FanUp Super Fun daily and weekly contests, answer fun questions, and rise on the leaderboard. You can squat up with your friends as well. Issue personal challenges. I like to think of it as a gentleman's bet. You can put it in writing. You can do all that on FanUp. Download the FanUp app, and you can be the real MVP any day, week, or season. Be the real MVP with FanUp. Download the FanUp app in the App Store. Use promo code FanUp. Get 2,000 bonus points. That's FanUp. May the best fan win. All right, time for our social media check-in. Been following some of these comments. They are brilliant. Social media check-in brought to you by Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. Hope you got to indulge a little Steak and Maine Easter brunch there at Steak and Maine in Northeast Maryland. Steakandmaine.com. Look delicious. Ian's checking in saying, good morning. Just discovered the channel. Welcome in, Ian. Big fan of yours from your WIP days. Thank you very much. Always enjoyed those days. Henry, bring out the brooms. I'll edit that for you, Henry. Break out the brooms. It does make me think. Anytime you get an unexpected sweep, and I didn't expect them to sweep the Braves, but anytime you get a sweep, it makes me think of the Mrs. Doubtfire gif where she jumps in and Robin Williams is sweeping the floor. Yeah, that's what it makes me think of. Mally's checking in as always. Mally, love you right back, brother. Brett's checking in over under 2.5 days until the bullpen makes us cry. Brett, let's have nice things. All right, let's have nice things. We have a nice thing right now in the Phillies bullpen. We'll see what happens against the Braves. And I know you're being silly, and I get it, but let's just enjoy and embrace a great run from the bullpen to open the season. Because like I said, what's made me appreciate the fact more so than anything that the Phillies are 3-0 to start the season is the fact that the bullpen has looked great. Your pitching has looked great. Embrace. You want to criticize? How about the bats? Bats, unless you're Chris Wheeler. I did it twice. Unless you're Zach Wheeler, you weren't raking. You know what I'm saying? So I had a couple of RBIs in the first series of the season for Alec Boehm as well. I'll take a little bit more of that. Yeah, sure. So I will embrace. I'm not going to wait for it to crash and burn. I'm simply going to embrace. Mally's taking the over. Good. Thomas saying, what's up, Farzy? Hey, Tommy, Thomas, what's happening with you? Pete saying, not a bad impression. I assume that's my Joel Embiid impression. A little out of practice. I'll work on it. How come I thought Rich Hoffman was really old? Because you're thinking of I think you're thinking of Rich Hoffman, Daily News, former Eagles writer, columnist Rich Hoffman. This is the younger Rich Hoffman the younger. I hate to use the term the elder because we're not in antiquity anymore. Well, we will be one day. But yeah, you're thinking of somebody else. April's checking in saying, I'm here in North Carolina. Can't wait to give the Braves fans work a hard time. There you go. There you go. Way to be there, April. Always nice to see your comments on here. Rag them. You got to rag them. I saw Rob McElhenney last night actually tweeting what Michael's hitting us up with here. Phillies 162-0. Rob McElhenney of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fame tweeted out last night that if the Phillies don't go 162-0, it's because they don't want it bad enough. They have the talent. They just don't want it bad enough. Yeah, sure. I'll go with that. Why not? Sky Motorcar saying, what's up? What's happening there? Oh, Nasty Knuckles hit us up when we were talking about Carter Hart a little bit earlier in the show. Good signs from Carter Hart. We're not going crazy. We're acknowledging what we saw in one game. And what we saw in one game was Carter Hart look sharp, look crisp, and look a lot better than what we had seen him do really at any point during the season earlier in the year. So there you go. That's it. Just going to bask in that for a minute. All right, let's have nice things for once. Embrace them while we have them, please, by all means. Thomas also checking in saying, given hell, that's to April, going in to talk some trash with all her people at her workplace in North Carolina that are Atlanta Braves fans. Thanks for everybody checking in there on our social media check-in, brought to you by Steak and Maine. I will say, before we get to our morning rush, talking to a lot of you over the weekend and seeing a lot of people tweet about the Phillies, I get the sense that people are just really excited for baseball again. And I think some of it is because you're allowed. Well, I think a lot of it is because you're allowed back in the stadium. You can hear your people again. But the other thing is that, with outdoor seating and that being increased, by the way, so the Phillies will be allowed to have a couple thousand more fans at Citizens Bank Park. I just think people knowing that it's an outdoor venue, knowing that it's baseball, getting out in the sun, getting around people again, I feel like that's what's making people even more excited for baseball. Yes, the fact that they won, the fact that they swept the Braves to open up the season is a huge factor in all of that. But I just get the sense that there was a great anticipation for baseball season to just get underway. It was almost like, I don't even need spring training. Just get me to the season. Let me see fans in the stands at Citizens Bank Park. Let me see the Phillies win. Let me see Bryce Harper hit. Let me see Aaron Nola on the bump. And you would be feeling a lot better about life. And I certainly did. Watching the Phillies from opening day to now, these first three games has just been joyous. And that Friday, as I always say, the day after opening day when you don't play, that's just dumb. I hate that day. And that seemed longer than it's ever been. So it's just good. Hey, we have it back now. They're right back in action today. You'll get to see Matt Moore on the bump today for the Phillies going on up against the Mets, who essentially just opening their season after COVID canceled their first series of the season against the Braves or the Nationals. So we'll talk about that obviously a little bit more tomorrow. Now let's get into our morning rush, brought to you by Sky Motorcars and SkyMotorcars.com. Flyers right back on the ice tonight, 7 o'clock puck drop against the Boston Bruins, the team that they have not beaten yet this season. They are 0-5 total against the Bruins. However, in hockey terms, they're 0-3-2 with an overtime loss and a shootout loss to the Bruins. Let's find the positive in 0-5. Let's find the positive. Well, the fact that they at least got 2 points out of those games. And in 3 of those 5 games, they've lost by 1 goal. Is that allowed? Yes, lefty is starting for the Phillies tonight. I don't know if you guys took part in an Easter egg hunt. My daughter is going to be 2 in August. Little Toots going to be 2 in August. And we took Little Toots out for a little neighborhood Easter egg hunt in the city. And she loved it. It was in a park. It wasn't like she was running around Chestnut looking for Easter eggs. But she loved it. She just was loving it, right? And she's got a little friend that went out with her and stuff, and it was adorable, as you would assume. And then yesterday, got to get together with my parents and my brother and my sister-in-law, and my brother's got 3 kids, and all the cousins run around playing together. It was beautiful. It was lovely, absolutely wonderful. And my wife and my sister-in-law set up a nice little Easter egg hunt in my parents' backyard in the burbs. And Little Toots was loving it. Running around, grabbing the Easter eggs, taking her cousins, giving her own, the whole thing. I have not seen this live. I haven't seen this in person. So far, every Easter egg hunt I've seen be very civil. You might be able to file this under something that is just old, but it's new to me because I haven't seen it yet. I saw this on Instagram on the account Bleep Jerry. For those that are on Instagram, you know what I'm talking about. Bleep Jerry. That's the way I'll say it for the family program I like to do here. Bleep Jerry. Here's what you had. If you haven't seen this yet, then it's new to you too, and this might be brand spanking new. I just don't know. But I think this mom gets a little over aggressive at the Easter egg hunt. My daughter was excited to run out there and gather Easter eggs. This mom, I think, was more excited than her kid. Just take a look. That's taking it a little far. Now, maybe you can let me know in the comments. Is that new or is that just new to me? Because I don't know if that came out yesterday and it was completely brand spanking new, but whatever it was, that mom's a little aggressive. And I would want that mom on the Flyers blue line as quick. Shohei Ohtani, in case you haven't been following this story, he's coming back from injury. He's back from injury, rather. Comes out last night, starts for the Angels. Throws the ball at 100.6 miles per hour, four-seam fastball. Fastest by a starting pitcher this season. Game was national television on ESPN last night. Then steps up to the plate because he pitches and bats and hits a ball 115.2 miles per hour on the exit velo. Hardest hit ball hit by a player this season. Hardest hit ball by a player this season. So he threw the hardest pitch and hit the fastest pitch. All within an inning. All in the same inning. He's a freak. And I found myself caring for the first time ever about exit velocity, only because of this amazing stat. He is a show within a show. He got hurt last night. Well, he didn't get hurt, but he was worried. They were worried he was getting hurt in a little collision at home. He's fine, just had some general soreness. But watching him play is electric. And I hate jumping to the conclusion, but people do it, of Babe Ruth and pitching and hitting, and that's wild. The guy is electric to watch, and he's great for baseball. I can't wait to follow the Anaheim Angels, the LA Angels of Anaheim, whatever the hell they are now. I can't wait to follow the Angels all season long with him being healthy. And obviously Mike Trout's reason enough to do that. But this is something wild that I've never seen before in my life. Somebody as a starting pitcher and a batter as well, taking his reps. Absolutely insane, absolutely wild. Can't wait to follow that throughout the entire baseball season. So that'll be a good time. If you didn't watch that last night, go ahead and check out some of the highlights a little bit later today because it is just that spectacular. Shohei Ohtani, the story of baseball, ladies and gentlemen. Time for our Big Bets segment brought to you by DraftKings and DraftKings.com. I need to take a break from betting because I feel like I'm forced to the issue. When I started out, I went on that amazing, 16-0 run to start things out, really. I've hit a snag. I've hit a bit of a snag. I haven't been good for anybody. So I'm certainly not going to bet hockey. National championship game, Baylor versus Gonzaga. More of that from Baylor, or is it going to be more of Gonzaga's pace of play that just dominates? And they're doing that with a 6'10" forward in Drew Timme, who just is unreal. Which style of play will win out in the national championship game? And we will certainly see which one will play out. But what's amazing to me is I just feel like I'm a mush right now in the betting world. And sometimes if you're a mush, not sometimes, but if you are, take a step back, acknowledge your mushness, and go, all right, I'll get back on DraftKings tomorrow. And maybe I'll have a little bit of a better feeling about this Sixers team beating the Celtics team in Boston tomorrow night. And maybe that's when I'll get back on the action. But when I do, I'll do that with our good friends at DraftKings and DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sports book app. Baylor and Gonzaga. I hope everyone enjoys the national championship game, of course, going on tonight, 9:20 tip-off. Gonzaga trying to be the first undefeated team since 1976 to win the championship. They're going into tonight as a -4.5 point favorite. I would say if Gonzaga is going to win this game, they're going to win it by 4.5 points. So if you like that, go for it tonight. That's it. I'm not giving any more betting advice. I'm a mush. Damn it. I just cost Gonzaga the national championship. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody, today. Make sure when you go on YouTube, you subscribe as well. Always great interacting with everybody on YouTube. For Jim Hyden, who produced the program, and Josh Weinfeld of Buzz Sports and Entertainment, great talking to you guys again. We'll talk to you throughout the week. Of course, we'll be back with you live at 6 a.m. tomorrow and available throughout the rest of the day on a fine Hughes Day with our good friend Hugh Lamont Douglas III. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy some Flyers action tonight. Enjoy some Phillies action as well. And, of course, the national championship game. Everyone have a great rest of the day. Take it easy.